Hi guys, good evening, good morning. Today we are gonna continue with the how to design your pneumatic system. The topic of today is the air receiver sizing or use or selection. We are gonna do a calculation to do it. A short description about the last video is we select our compressor that was a Schleer class 45. So if you wanna know how to select your compressor, just see the last video. So for today, we have three equations to calculate our air receiver. First is we have a GAGI. GAGI is like the institution of all pneumatic and gas topics about. It's like norm, the like the queen of all these topics. So there's a equation that you have your to calculate your receiver volume. So for this we actually need to know the time allowed for the pressure drop, your air demand that you actually know because you select your compressor, the atmospheric pressure, so you know it, your initial receiver pressure and the final receiver pressure. So with this information we are gonna calculate this air receiver. So I'm so sorry, this is in Spanish. I also made these videos in Spanish, so if you wanna practice your Spanish you can do it. So okay, then we have the Atlas Kafka for equation. If you need to know your air receiver volume, you need to know your air demands of compressor. In this case it's the same, C with QC. Then actually the inlet pressure about for the compressor, about temperatures, about the inlet temperatures on the compressor, and for your air receiver. Then, well, this is the simple difference. And then we have, this is a data of Atlas Copco, that we have the maximum loading frequency, and well, this is one cycle every 30 seconds. So this is just data for Atlas Copco. And then we have this third equation that it's also for Atlas Copco, but it's for VSD technology. So this is a special case if you are gonna buy Atlas Copco VSD. For in this case we are now just use this to the first and the second. Something that you need to know is that this equation, if you remember, this compressor is a modulating. This is not for load and unload. This is a different technology. It's to modulate the air demand that you consume. So far, but there's an exception there's an exception with this equation. You have to assume that you are in a load and unload situation. You should do it to have this equation. It's the same for this and the same for this, because you are selecting a correct sizing of your air receiver. So let's start with GAGI. We have the time for pressure drop. I'm gonna explain this in the final. First we have our air demand is, in this case, is cubic feet meter. This is about a data that we have here of our compressor selection. Just to continue. Then also we have the atmospheric pressure, you know it, 14.7. Then we have the load pressure and the unload pressure. I put in this case 115 and 125 125. Why? Actually, this 125 is the data of the compressor selection. You could find it in the KG datasheet or on the internet that if you will know it. But why I put load pressure 10 less? Well, actually I put 10 because it's the most common. It's very typically in all the factories and all of the places that have a pneumatic system to have in this case this difference of 10. So I put 10. You could put a different number, but this unload pressure is the data of the compressor. So now let's explain about the time for pressure drop. What does it mean? It means that your compression is gonna work. It's gonna charge it, it's loading until 125, and then it will stop it. The demand is it's gonna continue, and then the pressure drop until 115, and this gonna the ignition again. So it starts the ignition again, and it's a cycle. So sorry. Here you have a time. I put 5 minutes because it's for selecting and design. It's very common, but actually in the reality this could be less. Could be 2, depending if you have a lot of leakage. Could be just some seconds, a minute. And so with this, what does it mean? It's the time that you will contain your 10 psi pressure of your in your air receiver. So if you want more time, what does it mean? That you need to have, imagine that you want, okay, but if I want 10 minutes, what size should I have for my air receiver? So if imagine you put 10 minutes, you would say, oh, it's a lot. So in something like this, you should calculate, you should know your space that you have for your installations for the assembly. So it's all of kind of that data that you would have. So it's the same equation like here. I just put it, and I put in this case 1830.71 liters. If you wanna transform to gallons, well, you have it. In this case, it's the same for Atlas Copco. So I put the compressor capacity within liters. It's a different, just different, the same. Well, your inlet compressor pressure. Well, compressor inlet pressure. Then you have, where this is in Kelvin. I put in Kelvin the inlet maximum because if you remember, I put that the maximum temperature for our room condition was 30. So if I put this in Kelvin is 350. So this is the same. It's that data. And something that you need to know when you are this for your calculation and for your design, in this case of a pneumatic system, is that most common in every situation that you will have of this is that the temperature of your compressed air is gonna be 10 Celsius more than the initial of the room condition temperature. So that's the reason why here's just 10 more, and it's also in Kelvin. So this is just the different pressure that this is something that you have to consider. This is a data of Atlas Copco. That's the reason why I put in this case This is an ideal situation that you should have for, in this case, the difference between load and unload. This is the 10 psi just in bar. It's the same situation. This is the data of one cycle every 3, so it's just one cycle every 30 seconds. And you just calculate this. Well, as you can see, you have, maybe you're asking, so now why volume should I select? So don't afraid with this, just take the average. So that's the reason why here's the average, volume average. So it's 1826 liters. So for this, you have the volume of your air receiver, but in the reality you should select what is the nets immediately. So if you see in the market, you have 2000 liters. Well, this is in Spanish of Kaiser, as you can see, but this is in liters. So we have 1000 and then 2000, and we have, so we should go to the nets. So what does it mean? If you have a 2000, maybe your time for pressure drop should be more than 5, I don't know, like 6. So it's, as you can see, and this is good for your energy saving. Well, so for this situation we select our capacity of your air receiver is gonna be 2000 liters of for your air receiver. In this case, this is a data sheet of Kaiser brand. You could search other brand if you want. Something that you need to know is that when you have your pneumatic, in this case pipe, about since 3 inches pipe can be considered part of the air receiver. What does it mean? You you could use your installation of your piping to like another like sorry like another air receiver, so it's like one more of the originally. So imagine if I need 2000 liters for this, and with my installation I will have 1000. So I don't need to know to buy 2000. I'm gonna buy 1000 for this situation. So this is something that you need to remember to save money, to save energy. Well, this is in Spanish, but this is a picture that could have. It's about Kaiser also. About this is load and unload cycle for your compressor. This is the power of your compressor, and this is, in this case, this is just something data. It's not that you should have, but if you want to know, it's something I think important to know. 72 cycle per hour for compressors of 25 power. So, and it's the same for this. So guys, I hope that you this information help you to calculate your pneumatic system, in this case your air receiver. So we now can actually just give me a second. Okay, touch, yeah. For the next video we are gonna select our driving selection. So as you can see, I'm changing this presentation for English. But now for the next video we are gonna have here our translation, and if you have any question, do not hesitate to do it. Just put on your comments or on your, so what kind of question you have, and to help you. Have a nice day guys, and big huge